All right, welcome back to the Dirty Hands of the Republic. We're here to help police officers and members of the public decipher the issues that confront police officers on a daily basis. One of those issues that has come up is in Senate Bill 2212, passed by the Texas legislature, signed by the governor, and it became effective September 1st, 2021, actually. So it's been around for a while. It's just nobody seems to know it exists, or if they do, they're in denial. And just to be quick about this, an act relating to the duty of a peace officer to request and render aid for an injured person. So you're going to find this in the Code of Criminal Procedure in Article 2.33 of the Code of Criminal Procedure here in the state of Texas. And Section 1, Code of Criminal Procedure, duty to request and render aid, except as provided by subsection B, a peace officer who encounters an injured person while discharging the officer's official duties shall immediately and as necessary, number one, request emergency medical services personnel to provide the person with emergency medical services. Call an ambulance. That's what that means. And number two, it's not or, it's and. While waiting for emergency medical services personnel to arrive, while you're waiting for the ambulance to show up, while you're waiting for HFD to respond, if you're here in Houston, provide first aid or treatment to the person to the extent of the officer's skill and training. Now, what does that mean? Who the hell knows? But we know this much. You have a body camera video. You have a body camera that's rolling and it's making video. And so if you do nothing, they're going to hammer you for it. And it's a state law. So they're really going to hammer you for it. Will this create a cause of action for the city of Houston for wrongful death if you fail to render aid and the person dies? More than likely, yeah. It'll cause a wrongful death cause of action because you were supposed to do it and you didn't do it, right? Yeah. Now, paragraph B, the peace officer is not required to request emergency medical services or provide first aid or treatment under subsection A if, number one, making the request or providing the treatment would expose the officer or another person to a risk of bodily injury. So you're getting shot at, you shot someone, one of his other buddies is still shooting at you. Do you have to stop and call for aid while his partner is shooting at you? No. So if there's any risk surrounding anything other than winning the gunfight you're confronted with, win the gunfight first before you do anything. All right. That's what they're trying to say.
Always anyway. Yeah.
The officer is injured and physically unable to make the request or provide the treatment. Okay. That goes without saying. I mean, you've been shot. They've been shot. I mean, you're probably going to get a pass on that one if you're bleeding. If you're bleeding and they're bleeding, you're going to get a pass. If they're bleeding and you're not bleeding, you got to get a HFD out there. And then you've got to do something to render aid until HFD shows up. And you've just shot the person.
Yeah.
And now they're down. And you're a peace officer. You have to render aid. And that's, again, Article 2.33 of the Texas Code of Criminal Procedure. How do you feel about that, Joe?
Well, was there a need to write this? What police department does not help? HPD now has blowout kits, and I don't know how many videos we have of us putting tourniquets on people that have been shot or stabbed or even in car accidents and stuff like that. It's never been an issue, but they're trying to Californication Texas and hold you to a standard that wasn't, there was no need to. And that's what it's for, I think. It is to come after you if you didn't do enough, if you didn't save his life. I mean, it's just one more thing to put police officers on edge, to put police officers in peril for their job, for their livelihood, and for their freedom.
And to disincentivize police work.
Exactly.
Because, and the one thing it doesn't say is when. In other words, how much time can expire between the time you shoot a suspect, the suspect goes down, and you have to render aid? 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes? Like, there's no, and again, that's one of the things I hate about the Texas legislature is they never really think things through to the logical end. They never sit there and go, okay, I'm a police officer. I have my weapon. I've pulled up on a pawn shop. There's a robbery in progress. The guy comes out. He starts shooting at me. I shoot back. I shoot him. He goes down. Okay. Now he's still got his weapon in his hand. I still have my weapon. I'm not sure if he's incapacitated or not. Now the officer has to, instead of, can the officer wait for backup? Right? Because they don't say that in here. Like,
well, that means no, you can't.
Right. Well, or it could mean yes. But the problem is there's no thinking through the logical conclusion of this statute.
Well, it could mean yes, could mean no, depend on if it's a blue county or a red county.
Yes.
I mean, that's I hate to keep saying that, but that's what it all comes down to.
Right. So
and that's what laws like this are for.
Can you wait for backup? Now, I mean, it does say making the request or providing the treatment would expose the officer or another person to a risk of bodily injury. Okay, you can articulate, well, he still had the weapon. And then later on in court during the civil lawsuit is when you're going to find out, he bled to death in the 3 minutes, officer, that you waited to get up there to him to check on him. And then that puts the officer in the untenable position of trying to explain, well, why did you wait 3 minutes? Well, because I was afraid he was going to shoot me. Well, he couldn't shoot you. He was bleeding to death.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
I didn't know that, And so there's going to be a lot of unknowns that are going to factor into trying to render aid to someone you just shot.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And those unknowns are going to put officers from an apprehensive point of view or an anxious point of view. Now, instead of just winning the gunfight, you're going to have to worry about losing the rendered aid fight.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You know what I mean? Right. It's not going to be enough to just win the gunfight anymore. Now you've won the gunfight. Okay. So now you got to win the rendered aid fight. Mm-hmm. So that's what they're doing is they're creating one more
thing.
Yeah.
And now if this had what had sparked this, and it had come out of, say, I don't know, Uvalde. Okay. But it didn't. It was George Floyd.
Yeah.
The reason why this is in the law, where a man who was not murdered but killed himself with fentanyl, we have a law that now puts all this pressure on police officers to render aid when they would have in the first place.
Did you see
if they don't do it fast enough? And I believe the law is written, you say it could or it couldn't. Well, if it can, that means that there's no ever any, it doesn't matter. If you can put it on somebody, they're going to. If they absolutely can.
Right.
Kim Ogg just, tried to convict an officer of involuntary manslaughter.
Oh, in that accident?
Yeah, an accident. I mean, was she absent? They taught law in law school. I mean, did she not read any of the Texas law? Any of it?
Well, the negligence was all on the side of the driver that the officer hit, who was 3 times the legal limit. He was
exactly.
DWI,
and so they don't care.
No,
they don't. And that was just all trying to get an officer under her belt that she's convicted of some heinous crime. That's all that is. And that's what this is set up to do, is to catch officers and make you not want to do anything.
Wasn't that officer still fired?
Well, sure.
So the department didn't even defend him.
No, they thought he did wrong, even though I guess they can't read the.
Yeah. Well, it's it's unfortunate, but okay. So just so you know, if you're a police officer in Texas, you have a duty to render aid now, and we're trying to keep this short.
Yeah.
Make sure you read your CCP. That's where it's all at, and that's where they're going to get you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does this legislature define when that aid should begin? No, of course not. Because they don't think it through.
Well, I disagree. They did think it through.
You think so?
Yeah, they did it intentionally ambiguous, intentionally subjective. It's a lot easier to put it on you than that way.
Yeah, true.
Whatever situation, every situation will be different.
Yeah.
Of course, maybe I'm crazy.
No, it's true. I'm with you.
But you're right. They probably didn't just think it through.
All right. So, hey,
anyway,
like, comment, subscribe. We appreciate all of it. Comment below. We read them all. And we will see you in the next video. Thanks.
I wasn't yelling at you.
It's okay.
All right.